that's what I mean by identify with our thoughts. We identify with our thoughts because we think we are our thoughts, because it has the word I in it, and because of the valence attached to it, the amount of emotion attached to it, easy to identify with it. They possess us. So it's kind of like you got a potato in your hand, right? Hold your hand again. But that potato is you. You can't let go of yourself.
Oh, yeah.
That's why we squeeze the hot potato and get burnt. So that's what happened with thoughts, which we identify with. Because we identify with them, we don't know to let go of it because we think we are our thoughts. So the solution, okay, is the solution. So what is the path? So if I find myself having thoughts which has the absolutes in it, we'll have the I, the me, and the mine, okay, in it. And then we have the value and also the absolutes. When I see thoughts like this, once I realize this is happening, okay, for example, I will never be good enough, right? That kind of a thought. The first thing I must do is I have to make sure I'm present with the thought, to realize the thought is not me. The thought is just a thought. The thought might belong to me. The thought is no different than a volume of books in my library. They belong to me, but they're not me. I can look at the book, but I am not the book, right? It's like a flower pot. No matter how long you look at the flower pot, you don't become the flower pot. But if you look at it long enough, you might forget for a moment that you think you're the flower pot, right? Yeah. This is what's happening with thoughts. So that's called not being present with the thoughts again. That's being inside the thought. Just like that first half of my drive home, right? The same thing has happened. So the solution is to realize that we are the awareness itself. We are the awareness. We can be aware of our thoughts, and we can be aware of our sensations. So that's why it is important to know the difference between a sensation and a thought. Because if we don't know what is a sensation, then we live in the realm of thoughts and we have become possessed by it. And this can cause a lot of anguish, lots of anxiety. If the thought is fear, if the thoughts is regrets and shame, it can become depression. If the thoughts is sometimes can become panic, can become obsessive compulsive disorders, right? And this is because, or thoughts, sometimes the thoughts could create a lot of relationship issues. Because if I think I'm my thoughts, then it's very important that the thoughts are right.
Especially if you show up at home without the bread, then definitely a relationship issue.
That's very good. That's a problem. And if she says, you forgot the bread, and I say, and my thought might say something like, well, why didn't you get the bread instead and bother get it, ask me to get it? That would be a big mistake, right? Because all kinds of thoughts will keep coming. You see, it's all to do with I, or you don't love me, or something like this.
So how can we slow down those thoughts? Is there any way to maybe slow them down or move them on? Is there any way to not be trapped in the thought cycle?
It's what we call mindfulness training. Very good question. So mindfulness training is to keep us always anchored with our sensation. Sensation, there are 5 different sensations. There's the touch, right? There is touch. This, when you feel your hand there with your eyes closed, you know the hand is still there because you tell me you feel it, right? That is a sensation. So if you constantly pay attention to any one of the sensations, if you anchor yourself to a sensation, you are always the awareness. The only time you become possessed by your thoughts is when you have lost the anchor. So it's very important for me personally, if I feel any kind of emotional distress, emotion is somewhere in between. It's also something that we can be aware of. It's a very, very good red flag or orange flag, whatever you call it. It's a warning sign. So whenever you might detect some emotional distress, I always first go to the sensation, make sure I'm present. Otherwise, the emotion itself can be I can identify with my emotion. I might say I'm just a sad person with the next thought, you see? Or I'm never going to be happy. So what I do instead, I go to the sensation. First I anchor. That's why we have all these different forms of meditations. We have Tai Chi, which pays attention to your body, yoga, which pays attention to your body, with all kind of...
I've heard of acupuncture.
Yeah,
Does that
acupuncture.
work well?
Yes, acupuncture, different kind of sensory-based meditation. So that is why we train. We train our body to always be anchored. We have to grow this pathway, make it very, very strong. When you train, this becomes anchored. So we're always anchored. So we don't float away with our thoughts, like a balloon. So this is why what I do is whenever there's any kind of emotional trigger, I feel myself, oh, there's something happening inside. The first thing I do is, okay, am I present or not? First I go to my anchor, my sensation, right? I might pay attention to my breath. Have you heard of the anchor breath?
No, how do you do
Well,
that?
we're going to teach you guys about the anchor breath soon, okay? But you can pay attention to a sensation, just like you can pay attention to your hand. You can pay attention to your lip, right? Because you don't want to hold your hand out all the time. If you're talking to people, if you're going around your life, you might be busy with your hand. You might be cooking, right? So you pay attention to your lip. Do you know your lip is there? Can you tell? Are you sure it's there?
I feel a sensation, the breath.
Not everybody can feel it. If your mind is very, very busy, you're still here, okay? So sometimes it takes a little bit of practice to become aware of your lip. If you can't feel your lip, what you can do is gently pull some cold air through it using your breath. Or you can also pay attention to your nostril. Don't touch your nostril because there's a lot of viruses around. Just pull some air up your nostril. Okay, so when you feel that cold sensation, that is a sensation. As soon as you feel that, notice something has happened. Your mind is quietened.
Oh,
You're not thinking
of it.
anymore.
Oh.
You see, you're not thinking at that moment. At that moment, you're paying attention to your sensation. You're not thinking. You got a little gap, a break in your thoughts for you to peek out into the real world, outside your thoughts, to see that you are who you truly are.
Oh, it's wonderful. Thank you. Thank you very much.
Thank you.